What's up, guys, and welcome back to All You Can Eat Warriors, where we are back after a dub over the weekend, and we're enjoying our food. We're definitely in the buffet. But I'm here with my man Ash, as always. It's great to see you, bro. How you been? How's your week been so far?
Yeah, good, bro. Good. I might pull back the curtains after that food chat we just had just before we jumped on. You got me hungry, bro, and I can't wait to eat on all the info we're about to give out to everyone. We had some really good chats and some good people this week, so very excited to see what we can bring to you guys and for this weekend. Hopefully the Warriors get up this weekend against the Roosters, mate. Fried chicken sounds pretty good to me.
Definitely, bro. Bit of the old Teagles would be great. But no, man, absolutely. Welcoming everyone. All of the chat tans, Lexi, man, stay safe on the roads there. Strictly Wise, Tristan, GT, Pity, and Warriors Forever, man. Great to see everyone. And as you come in, guys, say hi. But welcoming in everyone that's popping in, man. So yeah, look, man, it's a really good positive vibe. We've got our team list, guys, tonight. We've got heaps to cover as well. We've got some analysis to share as well, which will be cool. Yeah, and Jordan Pereira, a good friend of the show now. He doesn't know it, but he will be. But great to chat with some retired NRL players and sharing insights with us. Look, man, let's get straight into it. I've labeled this section as from Vegas to Penrose, but it really should be the other way around. You know, Penrose. No disrespect to Penrose, but it's an industrial area. And Vegas is a wonderful, splendid, but we got the opposite in Vegas. We got the Penrose performance, and then back at Penrose, we got the Vegas performance. What did you make of? What was the difference for you, Ash, and what made the difference from what happened in Vegas and then what happened at Mount Smart on Friday night?
Yeah, I think obviously the bright lights of Vegas, I think a lot of people talk about it, where it feels like a grand final atmosphere, and just seeing how Canberra just took a step into their season this season for both games, our game and the Broncos games. Like, they really get up for the big games overall early on. That's something that we definitely need to learn in future, even though I feel like this was definitely a big game for us, and it looked like we did learn a lot of the lessons from the past. So I think the biggest thing, to take out of this, and it's the biggest thing to take out of this whole season is, we lose, but we learn, right? We learn our lessons and we continue to move on. And so obviously, picking up for what the pieces from Vegas and then the performance that we put over the weekend, especially in front of our home crowd. I think it's a lot easier to, being at home and having the crowd behind us that support us and push us through and make sure that we perform at top level. So that was the biggest thing for me, bro. Is just learning all the lessons from Vegas to bring to Penrose.
Yeah, and so probably going back to, would you say that what you expected at Mount Smart last Friday is kind of what you wanted at Vegas? Kind of because I felt as though that we really showed what we can do, and against a quality side in Manly. Is it that simple that the attitude was just a little bit off, the preparation, the temptations of Vegas that you're out of your zone, and if you don't deal with those things, they can become distractions. As simple as that, and putting it in that way, is it what you'd say?
A little bit, yeah. I think that we got shocked in the moment. I think there was a little bit of complacency. Like, listening to a lot of presses before coming into this game, it was just spoken about that they didn't expect to perform the way they did. It got brought up that many times. Like Roger and his when he had his shout out to Roger, he's doing a lot of social media at the moment. He does all these videos and stuff after the game, saying the things that he checks off and stuff. But he was saying that, they were shocked because they thought they'd be obviously a lot better. And I don't know whether they just came into that game thinking not the Raiders were going to be a pushover, but there was going to be a lot more even of a matchup earlier on, and that they can find their feet very early. And I think they got punched in the mouth, kind of very similar to what the Broncos did over the weekend as well, with Canberra going at GIO. So I think that, I think we came in maybe a little bit high on our supply after our trial period. We got punched in the mouth. But came back. There was looking back at some of the stats, there was little things, little areas where it's just like, oh, it shows that there is something there still, even though in a poor performance that carried over to this week. But we fixed up a lot of the issues that we had underneath that. We cleaned the house a little bit, so to say. Like, we still had a lot of the same, interior design, right? The couches in the corner, this and that. But we just put a lot of dirt on the ground, so we just cleaned that up a little bit, and the couch is looking real nice at the moment. So hopefully it continues to look even better against the Roosters. Couple of pillows on the couch, I reckon.
I love sleeping on the couch too, so hopefully on Friday night, man. But no, I totally agree with you that it's as simple. Well, not as simple, but getting all those details right. And like you said, there are some green shoots in a poor performance, and that they did carry over. I just want to transition now into what I saw and what you saw, but around the forward pack. And I mean, we're going to talk about will they be consistent, but what was your takeaway from their performance? They seem so locked in and so adamant on being the dominant pack and being strong both on the ball, off the ball. What did you make of that performance on Friday night?
I think it first showed a little bit of what Fish is kind of trying to bring into this club, right? Is obviously we saw last year in the Pacific Championships. Do you remember Pacific Championships? Not last year, the year before, where Australia end up beating New Zealand quite convincingly in that first game, and then Fish carried a lot of that, and he's cleaned up a lot of the issues. And in that last game, the final, where you blew us out 32-0 or whatever, where Fish was a big standout. I think this is the thing, is what's so good at having Fish at the club is someone that can drive standards. And after being beaten, shocked in round one, which I didn't think he was too bad at all, but him trying to raise the level of the middle and saying, no, we are the alpha dogs. Like, we got Barnett, we've got a lot of boys that want to, we're alpha dogs. We want to take over the contest and be the man. I think that they really fixed up a lot of that issue. And, over time, I'm sure that Fish is, as Barnett said in the video that was on Instagram recently, he was pretty much like, well, that was the standard we set right now for Manly. Let's raise that standard, or, that is our standard. We're going higher than that. We're going to continue to push it. So that's the thing. I'm really excited to see what more these guys can definitely have with this, right?
Yeah. I think, going on that performance, I know I had some good discussions last night with some of our members around, can we do this again and again and again? And I think there's a high likelihood that we could, but we do need to see it. Look, we've got another game against the Roosters, and look, you've got the same preparation. You're back at home still. Everything screams and says that you should be able to get up for this, and hopefully they do. Are you expecting a similar result as what we had against Manly? And my big thing is, can they stay consistent in their D, their line speed, all those things, and dealing with a pack in the Roosters that can be a bit more physical, I'd say, than Manly. But what do you think?
Yeah, we're coming into this weekend looking at the pack that obviously the Roosters have named. It is going to be, for me, a little bit of a tougher test in areas, right? But, if we stand on I think with the Raiders, there was periods where we did find our middle stepping up. It's just obviously our edges kind of fell apart in moments as well. So I do think that the consistency will come over time, but obviously I'm in the same boat with you. I kind of want to see it for, I've been saying it since the start of the season. I need I need data. I need like
Yeah,
a 3 to 4 or 5 games of saying, all right, this is where we're sitting right now. Like we can have high moments, we can have low moments, but we're just going to make sure the high and the lows not too far away from each other. They're very similar.
yeah,
Obviously the Raiders was a fairly low mark, but hopefully that was a variable, and the other 2 marks are definitely higher, and that we can find a middle ground there. So I think we can play to that standard, right? I really do, especially with Barnett. We've seen Barnett hold that standard through last year in a very poor year. Fish can hold that standard for sure. It's obviously the other boys that we have around there. I thought Aaron Clark was incredible. And it was great to see Webby obviously trusting him and get the starting role there and play with him through it. And if we hold that, I reckon we're going to be fairly good. So our edge back rollers there too. I thought they had a pretty solid outing over the weekend. That we need to see a consistent performance from those guys week in, week out. I think we both agree on that, right?
yeah. That's a big area too. Just going on the game plan, it felt they, not that they say throw away their really expensive attacking, but they did say that they wanted to like pretty much make a statement on, the Manly full pack. We're going to break you down through the middle. We're going to have 1-out runs and we're going to damage you. Do you think we could go in with a little bit of that similar strategy as well? Where I'm not saying the halves went good, but I felt that the middles did such damage on the on the Seagulls that it set the great platform for the halves. Would you expect something similar, or do you think we can continue with that kind of energy and kind of attitude about our forward play?
I think we can for sure. I think that like looking at the Doggies season from last year and even our 2023 season, I did feel like that our attack didn't really find its feet until mid to late in the season, and it was very stock standard earlier on, and that's why obviously our whole system right now has been labelled stereotypically like a very like simple system. I feel like the Raiders game was a little bit too much like we got punched in the face, so we started going sideways trying to play around them. Very similar to what happened with Manly in this game, where I think Manly, they got into their system of we need to play around these guys instead of earning the right to play football. And I think it's the simplest cliche in the world is if you win the middle battle and you earn the right to play football, then we can get expansive in a way later on in the game when we find our moments and get momentum. But we just can't try to do it too early, if that makes sense. So you got to try and win the middle battle. And I think that with the simple game plan that we ran over the weekend, I think we can do that consistently and do it really well and do all the simple stuff right before we even look at playing very expansive footy, which I think there is ability in the side to do so. It's just winning the middle first, right?
I think that's really what I loved about that game was like, the halves were dropping the back rowers underneath. Everyone was making sure that, hey, we've got to do the work through the middle and punish them that way. And you saw it with Jake Travojevic eventually getting sent off. Manly was sitting and laying in the ruck. They couldn't. And sometimes you do panic when that speed of the player ball is a little bit slow and your timing's off. I thought the boys called it a good game and waited patiently for the moments to open, and they did. And I just thought that's built off the pack, and good work by Webby and the team to manage that as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's what it felt like though too, bro.
Yeah.
Like, moving back to, like you said, Vegas to Penrose. I think in Vegas, we did fall away from our system in a way. I think the boys that when they saw the bright lights, they wanted to do it, not say do it the easy way in a way, but like, young halves, Metcalf and that, they wanted to show that they had really amazing shape they've been working on in the preseason instead of doing the hard stuff, which our system entails. And, going up against Manly, we didn't have it wasn't a perfect performance, but it showed a lot of potential as well. But also showed that if we play through the middle and we earn the right to play football, which is the way the system's supposed to be played, turn edge back rollers under and build their performance during the game. When it comes later on in the game, then we can start putting points on the board and really blowing teams out late. So, which was a big surprise in the Manly game to blow it out, 36-16. But that's what building our platform early on in the game allows us to do in the game.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to see and acknowledge the boys on that setting that patience and that continual grind, and it broke Manly down, broke their hearts, which I love seeing. Just want to welcome in Strictly Wires as a TV member, and I think you might have doubled up. I'm not sure if you've gone from reserve grade to first grade. You've thought, no, I want more. I want more. This isn't enough. I want to top up. So if you have, bro, we love it. We love it. We love it that you went through all the channels all the reads, and then you went to the out the back shape. I love it, bro. Thank
Great
you very much.
system.
Great system play. Yeah, bro, you'll be fed well, mate. You'll be fed well here.
100%.
Let's just go now into the back five. I thought this was one of the shining moments, specifically Tane with his try, Roger with their try, showing both their unique kind of skill set, the strengths of their game. What did you make of the back five? It seemed as though they had a really big night in attack, specifically the wingers and Chance. We talked about Chance getting those numbers back up. I think he found his streak. What do you attribute that to? And what's your thoughts on the back five performance?
Yeah, strong. Really, really strong. I think Roger's been really strong for us since the start of the season, and it's something that I really enjoyed. I think it's great to have him on that wing, a very experienced member, but he's doing all the stuff that Roger does really well, especially the work from the back end, getting us into really good field position. Tane, bro, like his ability for such a small body to slither in between tackles, but even when he gets hit at times, he doesn't really feel them as big as what I expect for a small body. Like I feel like early in his career, every time he used to get hit, he used to get monstered. Now he just takes contact so well, and it's just how smart he is as a football player, showing the footy around, but like Houdiniing people. It's great to see. Ali getting over that beautiful try, that beautiful line that he ran off Luke Metcalf, and that showing his ability as well. And he's got so much future. And Adam Bompi just continuing to be that constant mainstay, just a very consistent member, a good member, just does his job. And having that late moment with that try assist to Roger, just that real late flick pass there to Roger to score that try. I think they all had their moments and all played really, really well in their moments. Tane, I feel like just played with a ton of energy, and I think it bodes well for, when Dallin does come back, and this has come from a CNK fan, right? And I don't think I think that the chat around CNK has been a bit harsh lately, but he'll be fighting for that fullback jersey for sure with what he's showing this season. He looks like he's taking another step in his development, which is so great to see.
Yeah, I was impressed with them. And again, it all comes back to the middles doing their part, but everyone chipping in. I thought they found their fronts a lot, him and Roger, Tane and Roger. Everyone got their noses through and worked hard. And I just thought it was real cool of them to kind of, I suppose, I thought they got out-muscled. Definitely, everyone got out-muscled against Canberra. But this showed, mate, we're a team that can be dynamic. I know we're asking for dynamic players at times, but what you saw from the wings was individualism can work in the system. And the way they approached both of their tries, cutting on the inside, and then, Tane put his body on the line. He said to Jazz and what's his name?
Paseka,
try your best tackle. Yeah, Paseka, try your best tackle. I'm going straight through here. You can do your best, but I'm not going to be stopped. And it was just like, bro, that's hard, and that's a footy player, So, but yeah, Ali was 100%. Great too in his try. Everyone, I thought they were good too defensively. Those two, and their kind of timings and their work. So no, it was very, very good. Very good to see.
100%. 100%.
Just quickly on this, Josh saying Rocco has to slide back into the side, right? He's way too good for Cup on Friday. Just quickly, your thoughts on Rocco. How far off do you think? And actually, I was thinking about this, and we've talked about it. We'll get to it actually in the analysis. But where does he fit in? Does he take out Ali's spot? And does Ali take out Pompey's? And what's the chain reaction to all of Rocco coming back into it? Just quickly.
Yeah, 100%, bro. By the looks of it, at the moment, he's named in New South Wales Cup, because I did see him in the reserves, and we'll talk about the team list, and I was like, could we see Rocco back this week? But I think that Pompey's obviously showed some good performances, to start the year, right? So I think we'll hold on to him until Rocco's ready to go, fit and raring to go. I think it was one of his better performances in New South Wales Cup last week to show that he is getting close. I think when it does come time, it will come time. That I believe that he'll come into that right side spot. He'll take that that spot back again, because I think that from all the times I've seen Rocco, he preferably likes to play on that right-hand side with his right-hand carry, that left-hand fend. He's got a beautiful flick pass on that side.
Yeah.
Beautiful hands on that side as well. And I think his defensive shoulder, he prefers to defend, with his left side shoulder in the inside. So Ali can play on both sides. So I think he'll go to the left, and Bompy, unfortunately, be the one to drop out. But that's not on Bompy. I think Bompy's a great member of our squad that he can fill in these roles left, right, and center. And, Webby does trust in him to put him in a lineup, and he'll do a job. But that's the way I would look at it. And I do think it will come time soon. I think obviously we're just kind of easing him back and getting some real minutes in his legs before he gets back into first grade.
Yeah, and just on Strictly's point here about Dom Young in the air, I think Tane's coming up against Tupou. Well, Tupou's good in the air too.
Agreed.
But definitely provides some protection for Tane. I reckon. Would you say the same? Just kind of getting Ali in spots to kind of shadow those runs a bit for if Tane does get targeted.
That's where footy IQ comes into it, guys. I know that obviously you give away a penalty if you run in front of the line of the player, but if you get yourself set in a space around Tane and kind of shelter Tane from that oncoming threat of it will be Daniel Tupou on that side, that's going to be tough. We saw in Vegas where I did believe that Hudson Young and had kind of a free line for CNK for that try that they had. We just need to try and get bodies around and make it really hard for Daniel Tupou to get at Tane. But I think Tane will do a great job there in that area. It shows that he can use his body in the air fairly well. It's still going to be a tough task because you got a guy that's 6'4", can get in the air. He's got beautiful hands. So I think that the best way we're going to help him get bodies in front of Daniel Tupou.
Buzzman, appreciate this comment. We're going to touch on this, and it kind of we got some some really good feedback from ex NRL player on the situation. So just wait, we're going to get there pretty soon, but appreciate that. We'll address that. Tans, I think it's Tane versus Tupou because Dom Young's on the right side, so it'll be Roger versus Dom Young. Yeah,
agreed.
Okay, so let's get now into the halves. I thought this was probably one of their best game. They've only had really two games together. But I thought Metcalf played a great game. CHT played a great game as well. Everyone did their jobs, and I think with everyone doing their jobs, the responsibility was spread well. I thought CHT kicked well, and then Metcalf, they would chop and change in a natural way, a way that felt like it wasn't forced. So do you think they're starting to click, or is this more of a just are they starting to click, and what are the signs of that maybe? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I'm still obviously kind of I understand this is probably going to be very up and down early on in the season because they are going to take time to really mesh. It did show a lot of moments in that Manly game that they did come together, but there was also some moments where some attack stagnated and it did look a little bit clunky as well. I love that they became a run threat more than anything. That was my big worry. Obviously, Chanel Harris-Tavita, he's one of those players. He's such a big body. When he turns to run first, he can be hard to handle. And we all know what Luke Metcalf can do with his speed in a round. So it really comes down to Wade Egan and how he helps out that spine and really get him in areas to where, if they do need to pass, they can. But if they have a run first sort of mentality, I feel like they will come together a lot easier. I think there's signs definitely for them to click. I like that they were very patient in the game to where they turned their edge back rolls under the system, and they just built their momentum throughout the game, and they didn't really throw anything that was too risky in the moments, but also had a couple of ones where it went our way. The Ali Letai short ball, that was beautiful, very crispy. The play that they had together where Chanel got over for his first try. I thought that Sam ran through fairly well. So there is good moments there. But as young halves usually are, and at times there can be just next week, it could be a little bit less, cohesive, but it will take a little bit more time before we see a really great performance from both of them.
If you're thinking of it in baby steps and little micro growths, what would you like to see from the halves this week in terms of an improvement area or something to work on?
Yeah, probably be more fluidity in our shape in moments, right? I do feel like there was a couple of moments where it did become clunky. And I think that was more of the fact of whether we're still trying to figure out timing and stuff. What helps with that is definitely how we did it over the weekend. We're turning our edge back rollers back under. It's not so much of like, our timing and like our edge back roller hitting hard lines outside of Luke and him trying to really strip on edges. I think that's the next level of Luke Metcalf's game, is to where like he can do kind of like we did in the Melbourne game, in a way where he can play, that edge out really well, get deep into the line and play out of the back. I feel like that will come over time, because that right side at moments did get cold other than that Ali Leotor try. So I do think on Luke Metcalf's part, more of just a better cohesive shape on his side, and to play that out. But that's going to take time for me. So I'm just waiting a little bit before I see that. Chanel, pretty much, this is kind of what I want to see from Chanel, is like I want him to play second fiddle and just help out where he needs to with Metcalf, and I think that plays to his ability as well. He's not really a type of guy that's going to be like a Cody Walker, real deep in the line, beautiful ball playing every time. But he could be a guy like not say Cameron Munster, but like in that mold of he's just going to make something happen out of nowhere, and just like Chanel kind of does. So I think that's where we can see growth in both those boys.
Yeah, I'm really, I'm a similar thing to you, just a bit more fluidity. I actually like the kicking game from from a yardage kicking. It seemed really good. Like the bombs were really on point. We got a drop from Lehigh. The pressure seemed relatively good. So that's a real benefit of having both of them. I felt they both had turns. They said, oh, well, we're going to pressure Lehigh for a little bit. Or we'll switch it back to Saab. We'll go, and they kind of picked their moments really well. I thought, I felt as though the fifth tackle kicks were a lot more clearer and finished product.
Agreed.
And both of their positioning. So that was really good to see. But yeah, totally. I just want them to have a little bit more fluidity and sharpness. And yeah, like you said, working that right side with Metcalf would be nice as well. So, but yeah, I just think what we said, and I know I've always said 12 weeks up to middle of the, I think I still stand by that, that they both need that time. And hopefully people have seen some of those green shoots and they're starting to gel, and that they will get that time now. Whereas before it felt like people were asking for TMM, and we love TMM. We both, we've argued for him as well. But, let these guys have their run. That's all we're trying to say.
And I think a major key member in that is Wade Egan. I think that he helped them out so much over the weekend and allowed them to grow. I kind of said it in our WhatsApp chat, guys. If you guys are members, jump into our WhatsApp chat. It's great for all that information, just like our second game thoughts, our after game thoughts and that. But not to say, wait, I'm not going to, like, obviously, I would like to preface before I say things like this, but Wade Egan can play that Cam Smith role, and I'd love for him to do so in a way where Cam later on with the Melbourne Storm, he controlled a lot of the attacking shape of Melbourne, right? He was the dictator. And then having Cam Munster and Jerome Hughes playing off the back of him, they could be a little bit more run first sort of halves. And I feel like that's the best way we can see this gel overall, is off of Wade Egan. So I'd love to see, obviously, Wade go for a great game over the weekend, played amazingly. Did look like, he was very aggressive in his defense, but I'd love for him to take the Cameron Smith mindset in defense, just to hit your catch and wrestle, but you use everything for your attack and help these halves get through the game. And I think that's what's going to help these boys grow into great halves later on in the future. It's Wade Egan's work right now.
Yeah, no, good shouts. Just going to quickly shout out our man Killer with the 20 drop. Killer, we appreciate you as always, and you're the kindness of your heart. Supporting the channel, and we don't take this stuff lightly, and we do really appreciate your time and supporting us, Killer, and hoping you're well wherever you are. And I know I sent you that WhatsApp invite if you do want to join the chat, because I know you're first grader. Let me know if you struggle to get it. If that's your thing, more than welcome to jump in. But thanks again, appreciate you.
You're a beast.
Yeah, absolutely beast. Yeah, very cool. I totally agree. And Josh is very jealous of that hat, mate. Where'd you get that hat from? It's a beautiful hat.
New era, bro. When they came out, I don't know if they're still on the site, but I love it, bro. The old corduroy, what do you call it? Look,
yeah, corduroy.
Starting to get into the old school looks. So,
nice, man. No, very nice.
Thanks, bro.
might have
you,
to
bro.
pinch that off. I might have to pinch that off you when you get to when I get to Aussie.
I'll take your one too, bro.
Yeah.
We'll do a swap.
So, very nice. Hey guys, we're going to do a little bit of analysis now, so bear with us. But yeah, we've had a. Now I'm going to go slow because they'll try and copyright me, so I'll be patient with this. But be patient with us. We had a great chat. Oh, I had a great chat with Jordan Pereira. I know NRL fans will know Jordan from his time at the Broncos and at Dragons as well. And he's retired now, but he contacted me on Instagram because I do some of my videos, and he said, "Would you like to get some feedback on how the players view a lot of this stuff in terms of edge defense?" And I was like, "Absolutely, bro." And I'm so open to learning. I want to learn. The reason I really started this stuff because the pros weren't really sharing that knowledge, but it's great to have someone like him with his vast experience share a little bit more about edge defense. And we want to kind of, me and Ash, explain to you his thought process and actually why people are saying Roger has been jamming a lot. I know that's probably, or Pompey's too slow, all those things. I think we want to try and understand why the players make those decisions. So we're just going to go through some of this stuff now. And actually, in my video, I was saying that Pompey needed to get off his read here, and that Roger should sag back a bit. Now, Jordan shared with me that actually in this situation, that Roger should have jammed. So you can tell I had a different view, and Jordan, with his experience and knowledge, actually said no. From what the cues are, that this was actually a good opportunity for Roger to jam Tommy out the back. And what his explanation was is that because Pompey has got Garrick there, as you can see, Garrick's about to come in, and Pompey is having to come in and check Garrick there. That's quite difficult for Pompey to get off that read and then straight away go and try and take turbo. And what Jordan was saying as well is that if you can, for Rodgers to identify what type of mode the fullback is in on the out the back there, is he in a run mode or is he in a pass mode? And in this kind of style, and what you can see from Tommy is that he is in a run mode. And so his suggestion based off that cue, and also that Olokoatu being the ball player in the situation, it showed through those cues that this is worth jamming the specific play. You said Olokoatu, although he's been given license this year to ball play a bit, it's very highly unlikely that he'd throw the tunnel ball to Saab in this situation. So he said based off of those variables and the cues that he's seen, that he would probably actually have Roger jam in this specific situation. Yeah, shoot on Tommy there. So I said in my video, Roger should sag back. But from his vast experience, he said, no, the cues tell me that this is actually a jam situation. So we'll just see it play out a bit. And obviously we saw, the pace of Tommy flying at that moment. And then Roger, getting caught with the speed as well. But yeah, what was your thoughts, Ash, on what Jordan was sharing and his knowledge, and actually helping us as fans to maybe not be so critical on the players, but sometimes even the system. He said sometimes coaches teach you to jam in that situation. Sometimes they teach you to give space, and so I just want to help everyone understand to be a bit fairer on the players. Yes, they do make mistakes, but the wing defense is probably one of the most difficult in the game in those situations. But yeah, what were your thoughts on that?
100%. And when we think about it, it's like we're pausing this and in moments, and within that last pause, we've just seen that play go from the 15-meter line to the 40-meter line as Saab's on the outside. So this is a quick amount of time that Roger had to make the time up of whether he's going to go all the way in and all the way out. And think of human beings, right, as habit type people, right? So we build habits on the off season or weigh our defensive shapes depending on what looks that we see. So in these moments and that, due to our system, it would probably more bode to Roger to really cut off that space of Tommy Trbojevic, which I thought we did a little bit better after that first try that they scored. I thought we cut off a lot of the timing of Tommy Trbojevic and all that in moments later on. In that play there, as Jordan was kind of touching on, it's also a player type thing, right? Where Ola Kawatu is 100% right. Like Ola had never been known before, maybe the last year or so, maybe around that period, to be a ball player, but we're just seeing him having that kick out type role this season, which
Yeah.
is throwing a lot of teams off because Ola Kawatu, as we all know, is a damaging ball runner. So to see him in this look is very interesting for, our outside men to really look at him and go, we're seeing a big damaging back roller that's playing this outside shape. That, and also, looking at the read, all defensive systems like usually should work from protecting your inside shoulder. So that's why Pompey has to sit on that read and help out that halfback in that area, right? So it's kind of like really good attacking shape versus a defensive system. So it's really unfair in those quick moments. As I said before, when we pause and unpause, we're seeing how much time in between that Pompey has to read on that moment, and also Roger has to read. And he kind of comes off earlier. In that time, if Roger pulled in earlier, it kind of would have had to be a tip on from Turbo, which he has the ability to do so.
Yeah.
But the high risk, high reward of an error getting turned over is what this defensive system should be entailing, depending instead of allowing the play to build out and the Seagulls to get momentum on our defensive line in general. So Geordie pinned that perfectly, and it's so good to hear it from a first grader, and especially a winger, because I feel like wingers, centers, they always get beat up in the media and that for certain moments like this, but people don't know how hard it is to defend overall. And we've had this chat before, is usually when we get to these parts of moments, usually defenses are broken down anyway. That's why you call it a defensive breakdown, right? Usually you want to beat everything from the middle. As soon as it goes out to an edge where we have to defend like this, it's usually a breakdown overall. So,
Yeah. So I think it's a mixture of, what the coaches tell Rog and Pompey. It's not always on them. I mean, Jordan explained that sometimes the coaches tell you to do one thing and then you do it, and then they say, hey, you got that wrong. It's like, well, you told me to do that and it didn't work. So I think it's getting a mutual understanding that, Pompey in this situation, it isn't his fault. He has to take his inside shoulder there. He does his best to release. Yes, Roger probably could have jammed that based on the cues. But this is the difficulty of the game, especially out on the edges. We'll just show you another one that he shared a great example of as well. Was this other try, and actually highlighting that sometimes it's comms as well. If you come here, DC drops underneath, and then from here, Chanel could have actually said go, or a comms to say man on. Everyone's a slide essentially, because he's got Brooks at that point. Now, one thing that Jordan said, that because you can see RTS is just a little bit ahead of the guys, he says Jordan liked that. He said he liked that, but at the same time, it takes your peripheral away as to what the other guys are doing. So maybe in that situation, Roger lost a bit of that periphery, and did decide to come in. Whereas probably it's a mixture of maybe CHT and Pompey getting the comms out to say man on, or chicken slide, that type of thing, instead of just purely blaming Roger for jamming in. And again, the backs are always dealing with the problems that the forwards are unable to things. So I think it's just a bit of that type of understanding as well. But what did you make of this play? Yep.
What proves that point too, bro, is seeing Pompey and Roger both key in on the one man of that inside man, that center. It shows that the comms maybe fell apart within this moment. So Pompey obviously was more relying on the the slide defense and having that man on, where Roger, probably if they got a lot of good communication to that edge, they could have pushed Roger out to Sabi and maybe shut down this play as well. Overall, and as a winger, I played backline when I was growing up at times too. Just knowing usually your cues come off that center as well. A lot of the time what I learned was whatever your center do, you follow them in moments as well. So that's where it all comes from, the inside. So it'd be good to see him clean up in that area in moments. Especially in a moment like that. The one area I did key on before as well, seeing that play there, the ball was caught on the inside shoulder of Olakuatu. So Brooksy did a shepherd type moment. So if Chanel
it technically is,
jumped off early and tried to like push early, it could have been
Yeah.
called for maybe a little obstruction call there, but
That's what
not
Josh
able to
is
be
saying.
due to
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
You actually have to be experienced in doing that too. Who was one of the good halves that Mitchell Moses?
Mitchell
was
Moses
it,
is
or?
incredible at it. Yeah. And
He's
DC,
really
the
good at
man
it.
that we played against, bro. DC
DC
is
is very
incredible at
good.
it.
They're good at
Yeah.
taking those dives. They know when he's caught it on the inside. I want to go into this lead run right here and fall down, and it's a penalty. It usually is, but I think that's kind of a systems thing. Chanel maybe not being experienced in those and being like we're not like you guys, Aussie guys. We will fall down or roll the ball at the wicket. We try to play fair. You
Oh,
guys will win at all costs.
Hey, win at all costs, baby. We don't care how we do it, as long as we do it. At the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but anyway, guys, that was some of the analysis from the bro Jordan, and mate, I was buzzing to hear it from. Sorry, Ash, go ahead. Yep.
The last thing I would say, though, guys, is I wouldn't be too worried as in the fact of our edge defense. Like, I thought our edge defense in moments did have moments where it did look shaky, obviously early on in the game, but we did key in on it a lot better and we fixed it out. The biggest positive we want to take out of this, guys, is, teams aren't running through us. We're protecting our middle and our insert, first of all, and that's a very big positive. In all stages of rugby league, we don't obviously want the other team to score tries, but what's the position on the field we wanted them to score tries if they were to score tries? It is on the wings and on the edges. So obviously that conversion's a lot harder. So to be beat around that sort of side, it's not as bad as what people, obviously always say it is. It's not good to leak points, right? But, it'd be a lot worse to see softer tries as we've seen from the Doggies Titans game over the weekend. The Titans giving away a couple of really soft ones through the middle. If we're getting line breaks for the middle and our edge back rollers are punching holes through us, that's a bit more of a worry for me than like a breakdown on the outside edge, which those stuff can get cleaned up over time, in my opinion.
Yep. And great analysis here from Buzzman. Nice analysis. It was Pompey's fault. Everything's Pompey's fault. Blame Pompey.
Poor Pompey.
Just want to give a shout out to Killer. Yeah, the boys made me a lot of money on Friday. Perks of being backing your team. Killer, I know, whenever I see Killer coming, I know he's had a good day at the bookies. So love to see it, Killer. But happy your winnings. And no doubt always catch Ash and Brody for their tips and actually all the stuff they do. I'm no doubt you're watching closely on those boys to get those good tips as well. I hope we explained that, guys. And at the end of the day, Jordan was explaining, that he was I was saying sag off and he was saying jam. And he said, in many ways, actually, there's no wrong or right answer, but it's really focused on what the coach wants you to do. I mean, he's saying in some systems, coaches love you sagging off and giving the team 30 meters or so, and then you shut that down. But some coaches hate it because you've given up 30 meters and they're closer to the line. So it's a very, he from his vast experience, he kind of explained that it can be a bit of everything. Yeah, you just have to read things and have your experience and use that wisely. So, really good.
So thank
really
you,
good.
Jordan, though. Thank you so much, man. Like, hopefully we get a touch on you more and open up to, maybe having you on the show sometime and all that. But it'd be great to have, obviously, in chats with an NRL player that knows defensive systems, just help us grow overall. Obviously, I haven't touched an NRL system and, so it's great to learn these things.
Hello, Henry B. Hi from Nelson, mate. Hope you're doing down there in the Nelson area. Tahi saying 11 more hits, please, on the like. Thank you, as always, Tahi. So hit that like, people. Very, very kind. Jordan the first, yeah, mate. We'll get him in. We'll send him the link to the chat. Just come in and hang out with us. He's a very busy man. He's got a business. I think you've seen some of his videos on coaching. He coaches young players.
Yeah.
He's even coaching the details to putting a one hand in the corner, trying the corner. I saw some of the videos. It's like, this is very detailed. It's like, man, get Roger out there to, get away from his two-handed put downs, train him on how to do it one hand. Get Jordan out there, bro. Straight up.
That's based.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Okay, let's transition now into, I know this was a big topic last week. It's kind of calmed down a bit.
100%.
Where to from here for Webby? It's not so much. I think obviously everyone was so focused on, Webby as a coach, and now that we've won, a lot of people saying trust the process, and see what Webby can do if you give him time. It's going to be an up and down process in my opinion. But what do you make of um how should we? I think what we should be really asking is like, how should we be treating Webby, even with big losses? There could be some more losses to come. There could be more wins. How do we kind of, as fans, you know, yeah, how do we kind of? I mean, we're both saying. I remember you said last week that he's not a great head coach yet, but he can be. Would you say
Yeah.
that's kind of something we need to look at as fans, look more on Webby in that sense?
100%. And like, re-emphasizing that point, I think he's a good head coach. I think there's a lot of other head coaches in the competition that I would like for sure prefer Webby over, for sure. And like, I think a lot of people got to take into context certain things that he's got to deal with in the club and that. And I think that rugby league's so reactionary. I think sports so reactionary, right? Like we have high moments, bro. So if everyone rides the high moments and says, it's our year, right? As Warriors fans, we hear it, but I see it in sports all the time, bro. I've been an Arsenal fan in EPL. Just that fan base is just on a different level over there of like how they ride moments and how they go in on each other when we're all down, but when we're all up, it's all like, we're the best players in the world. So, it's just the way rugby league is, and I don't really want to take too much emotion away from people either, because I think that's a really cool part of sport that people can have that emotion. But also, like, I think that we got to be smarter in the way of like just allow some things to have time. Like, we've had 30 years of barely any success. Like, what's another? No, it sucks to hear, but you know what I mean? Like, I think people label the last 30 years like Webby's been the coach for 30 years. Like, understand this bloke's only had a small amount of time at a club and he shouldn't carry all the weight of the last, 27 years of no success. Just allow him to grow. And, we saw it over rugby league over the weekend, right? Round one, there was so many teams getting called like the worst team in the comp, not going to win a comp, this and that. And then after that round, people are starting to look at the Canberra Raiders as a threat into the season. And I'll bet you anything, come mid to late the season, the Canberra Raiders will be a side that's about middle of the pack, and they're doing very good for what they're doing. But they're not going to be a premiership threat, and they start the season well. So that's the thing. The league's so reactionary. Just allow things to take time. Allow him to learn his lessons and build from what he's building. Right?
Yeah, give him time. I get it. It's a frustration when you come in as a coach at the Warriors, and we've had we've lacked success. We haven't experienced much success, but you've been hired to build something from scratch, and I understand the sentiments from the fans, the Hearty fans that have waited such a long time, that when you see games like the Gold Coast last year or Vegas, it does give you a bit of PTSD. I feel it.
100%.
I feel it as well.
Yeah.
So I don't fault you for feeling that way at times. But if we're ever going to do it right, we got to do it right now. And I think Webby is that right coach to build a project around. I never say just rely on Webby. I always say focus on the, Cameron George doing good business, doing smart business. Focus on Robbo, focus on development, picking the right players to come through. It's not all on Webby. Get him more assistance if he needs, if he needs that, then get him those things. But yeah, I do definitely feel like we as fans just need to temper that feeling that we may get. I loved last week's performance because it was like it felt like a lesser team coming up against a really flash team. There's underdog vibe, and we came with all the heart, and we demolished them based on heart and determination and grit, which is what I loved about 23. We didn't see that as much 24, but the signs that I saw on Friday were of that, and I really loved that. So it gave me even more kind of, let's really get behind Webby, because that type of performance is what we should try and build off. So I kind of, I encourage people to be like that in my head.
And that's the thing, is like, it's okay to be, to have like, criticisms and talk about it. But obviously, like, as I said before, it can't be too high, it can't be too low. There's always a good balance and a middle ground, right? Like, and just allow like something to build over time. Like, you know, who knows? Like Webby, let's say like it all kind of falls apart later on this year, and it's starting to look like, you know, players are off him, and then we got to really make those hard decisions over time. But you know, currently right now, I see a lot more positives than negatives for me at the moment, and you know, I'm holding on to the systems that we put into place in not just our first grade, but in New South Wales Cup and for our systems that we're building. To end up putting my faith into this coach and say that he's doing something right. And I think also another good thing that helps out with that is, you know, I know a lot of our Warriors fans as well, just rugby league fans in general, but like seeing a lot how other coaches deal with stuff over, you know, with the other teams in the competition. You know, Webby obviously got called out for his bench rotation over, you know, that first game. Well, Madge's bench rotation has now been into question against the Raiders over the weekend as well, because he left a lot of players out there in that field for a little bit too long, thinking that they can change the contest against the Raiders, but was a little bit too late. Feels like the Raiders seem to be a side at the moment that people are struggling to really work out just yet, because they play Raiders football, but they've added a little dimension that people are still waiting to kind of figure out yet. So, you know, we don't know the storylines in the seasons just yet. It's game 2, it's round 2. You know, we only find out where everyone sits and where we all sit by round 5, 6, 7, maybe even later on, to where we can get a good read on a lot of things and whether Webby is doing a good job this season or not. You know, it is a new season, so allow a couple of more rounds before we start really going in on him on certain things.
Look, I think this is a good comment from Chris. Like, you know, the last 10 years, it's been, I got to win the Prem now approach instead of building our club and culture. Yeah, we got in the pet, like, and we've talked about it. Getting 100%. Out of that pet of just sacking coaches. And, you know, if you start getting in a pattern of sacking coaches, it reflects more on you as a club than it does sometimes on the coaches, because, you know, when you sack 10 coaches or whatever we have, it tells you more about, it tells you who's the problem at the end of the day, even if the coaches weren't good enough. So, yeah, that's something to really think about, guys. But just temper ourselves, and yes, there'll be some lows and there'll be some highs as well. So, yeah. Zach, if you just rewind a bit, brother, we talked about this. So you can get our analysis on this, and always, you know, we're trying to educate ourselves and everyone that, yeah. But anyway, if you watch Spec, bro, we've done some video analysis on that.
We had an NRL winger tell him it's okay to do what he was doing. We trust in Jordan Pereira over everyone else.
And you know, I got a big shout out to Jordan. Jordan messaged me, he goes, "Hey, bro, I love your videos, and that I just have some different thoughts on, you know, some of your analysis. What would you like? You know," I was like, "Bro, absolutely share with me. I got no problem being wrong." And actually, you know, a lot of my knowledge bases, I haven't even played footy at a high level. I'm just a couch coach, but I just give my opinion on what I think they should do. But it's awesome hearing someone like, you know, even yourself, Ash, with your insights, like, oh, I never even thought of that. Or even he said, as soon as he said Ola Kawatu ball players, like, crap, that's a great point. That he's not going to throw the cutout. He's not going to.
Yeah.
You could have jammed him. You know.
I didn't even think of that too, bro. Like,
yeah. So it's great to have other people's feedback, and you know, everyone in the comments too giving feedback as well. But Jordan, he still blames him.
That's how we learn. That's how we learn.
Love it, brother. Love it. We love having you here. Okay, let's go now to the Roosters. I asked you, are they a bottom 4 side? But actually, are they actually still kind of okay with all of their losses? But they had a massive win against Penrith. I thought I watched the tape and watched the first half, but Penrith looked a bit off the ball. It reminded me of actually a magic round against us where they were just all over the shop a bit. But credit to the Roosters, and similar to us, they had a whole bunch of changes through their interchange and their forward pack. But what do you make of the Roosters thus far? And especially coming up against us this Friday.
Yeah, the Roosters is a tough team for me to put in a position. Like, obviously a very, very, very down performance in the first round against the Broncos. You know, conceding 50 points in the first round is definitely not the way to go. come into last week to shock the Panthers with a lot of their big players out from that first week as well. Like Victor Radley wasn't there. You know, they had a lot of big players. Spencer Leniu wasn't there. There's a lot of players out that have come back into this lineup coming into this week. You know, looking at their team list on paper, I don't think they look like a bottom four side, but they've shown moments where they could probably sway in and out. So for me at the moment, I don't think they're a bottom four side yet. But they have the ability to, if the pressure cracks to them, like, you know, and that they have more performances like round one, then, you know, it could flow very quickly, if that makes sense. But with the side they have on paper, I don't think they should be bottom four at the moment. Looking at some of the other sides in the competition, like the Parramatta Eels and the Cowboys at the moment, they are really looking dire right now. So I think that they've got a lot more ability than what that shows just yet. You know, but I also do think that that game over the weekend, it was like the perfect storm of, you know, the Penrose Panthers playing probably their poorest game we've seen in a while, and them just losing that game, and the Roosters having an uptick with energy, you know, from, you know, getting their ass kicked in the first week and wanting to come back and show something. So I think it was a perfect storm, that game.
Yeah, I'd agree so too. I always, no matter who the Roosters throw out there over their history, they've always had quality. In this situation, they're missing a bit of quality all around the park. But man, you got Dom Young out there. Tupou's always solid. You know, Teddy's always, you know, always in and around, one of the good fullbacks or great fullbacks in the game. They got Radley coming back. They got Nafahu's been, you know, beast and playing well as well. So it's not like we should ever write the Roosters off, and especially with at the moment we haven't been too well lately. So I think this is a good matchup for us to like really test ourselves again.
100%.
With I think a much stronger forward pack in terms of mentally, they love to grind and be physical too. So they will want to bang with us. So I think this is going to be a really, really good test.
I agree.
You think, just going back to that forwards, you think they'll match us physically in the forwards there? Like I feel they will. I feel they'll be up for it. How do you think that forward battle will go, just on what you've seen?
Yeah, reading the names on paper, if they run out the way they're looking right now, Spencer Leniu, Nafahu wide, Victor Radley, Angus Crichton, Lindsay Collins probably come off the bench and start for me. I would probably feel. I'm not sure whether that moves things around a little bit, but that forward pack, notoriously known, you know, high energy. You got Spencer and that highly emotional. Victor Radley, very similar. They'll put on some shots. They'll really take it to the contest. So it is going to be a great test in the middle. And I think this is a really good game off the back of what Manly, you know, over the weekend, we showed that we can dominate a middle. This is going to be a little bit tougher for me, as in the harder edge, as you just touched on, comparatively to, like, you know, the Pasekas and that of the world. I think that this is going to be a little bit tougher of a test. I think we got the ability to do so for sure, especially if Fish and Barnett in the middle. But, you know, the Roosters, with the lineup they've got back, you know, Lindsay Collins comes back into this lineup. As I said before, Victor Radley comes back into this lineup. Spencer Leniu comes back into this lineup. You know, that same team that beat Penrose, they've just got three big players back into the lineup, three international players, you know, back into the lineup. So they're going to be a lot tougher this week than what last week.
Yeah, this is a good comment by Tristan. Do we think the Roosters could be complacent this game after upsetting the Premiers? I don't think so. I think the Roosters are a team that like build off of good performances, and they have set a standard. You know, they're very much like the Storm or even the Panthers. They have a high standard. Robbo does. I think I think from our history, the pressure's more on us. We'll be coming off a really good win. We need to actually deliver, and even if they aren't, you know, if they are, maybe if they do get complacent, we can't afford. I would rather focus on us not being complacent. And like you said with Barney in the video about him, you said, guys, we've set the standard now. Let's keep that up. We're not going to drop from that. So I would probably focus back on us, Tristan. Do you have any thoughts on that? Will they drop off? You think?
Yeah, it's tough to really tell. I think they've poured a lot of energy into that game against the Penrose Panthers, but as I said, those key players that come back into the lineup, they've had some good rests there. Like Victor Radley having a
Yeah.
week off, Spencer Leniu having the first start of the season off, and Lindsay Collins having a week off, obviously with a head knock. So they'll be fresh and ready to go. So I think that they'll be ready and firing. It's always a tough test going to New Zealand, for whatever Australian club, and it's very similar for us going over to Australian clubs over in Australia. That travel and that, it maybe can bite them in the arse, especially after a tough game at Penrose. But I agree with you. I'd like to just more rely on our boys to just step up to the contest overall and not have to rely on, the Roosters coming in complacent. I would love to just see us step up.
Yeah, that's definitely what I would see. Look, guys, we're going to go now into the combined 17. Thank you, everyone that's been here so far. Got 90 of you guys in here. If you can please hit that like and subscribe. I think we're about 40 subscribers away from 2K, which is huge. So if you haven't subscribed yet now and you've been stalking and watching what we do, hit that subscribe right now, guys. We really appreciate that. It really helps us, and we're not far away from 2K, which is a massive achievement for us and all the work we've done. Okay, let's get into combined 17 now. Let's just share the page here, guys. This is always a fun segment. Last week we kind of got blown off the park a little bit in the backs.
You did.
And actually, you probably say Manly could have scored maybe 2 tries in that first half based off their backs. They maybe bombed a few opportunities. But I think we got it right with the forwards. Majority Warriors in the forwards, and they delivered the forwards. So
100%.
Be interesting to see which area of the field we win in this matchup, and maybe some weaknesses, and maybe if that reflects in the game as well. So let's just shoot over there, guys. We will start with the left wing. Now, people are saying that it is actually Dom Young on the left wing. Is that right? Is that they changed over? Okay.
Nah, from memory, I'm pretty sure he's still on the right. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Sure.
think we're going to stick with him being on.
Nwanga Nisawase was playing. He had that really nice sweep play to Tedesco on that left-hand side for Daniel Tupou's try. So yeah, Daniel Tupou's on the left.
Daniel Tupou, we'll just confirm that, guys. Daniel Tupou is on the left. So let's start with Tupou versus RTS. I think Tupou bagged a few tries on the weekend, and RTS as well. So this is a good little battle.
It's tough.
It is a tough one. I might go with the home guy at home, but bro, you can't discredit as an actual winger in the last probably 5-10 years that Tupou has been one of the good wingers. Would you go Tupou in all fairness, or is Rog at home? Maybe it does well as well. But what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's tough, because the way I look at it is like an out-and-out player, I would have Roger over Daniel Tupou. But as an out-and-out winger, I think Daniel Tupou is one of the most underrated wingers of all time. Like what he's done over a long period of time in rugby league. That's what makes it so tough. I'm going to sway the way of Roger in the fact of I think Roger's numbers I think can trump Daniel Tupou overall, but this is not saying anything against Daniel Tupou. As I said before, he's so underrated and he's one of the best wingers of all time, right? I think just at this current moment, I think Roger can produce a little bit more from that wing for our side. So I'm going Rog.
Yeah, I think we're going to go Rog there. And look, I'm not saying that Tupou won't have a good game too, but yeah, in that sense, he will. And Ash just casually nailed the pronunciation. Nawanga ni Tawasi. I think I'm getting my thing around it too.
You had that. You nailed that first time there. Shit.
Nawanga ni, and then you can do the rest, I think. But yeah,
that's the best way I learned it.
Okay, let's move now to fullback. Teddy versus CNK. I still got to go with Teddy personally. Would you say the same?
Yeah, for sure. Teddy again, just having another amazing season. Even with the poor game against the Broncos, he still had a lot of good moments in that game. His leadership, he's been probably the standout for the number one, the fullback jersey for the last decade, maybe longer. So. I think Tedesco definitely for sure.
Yeah, I think that's quite easy, that one. Okay, now we've got Dom Young versus Tane. I think obviously again goes back to a natural winger, natural finisher, explosive with pace. Although I love what Tane's doing, I got to personally go with Dom Young here. Would you say as well, Ash? There?
Yeah, I go with Dom Young. It doesn't come with drawbacks, obviously. Dom Young does have moments where he can have an absolute shocker, but his
Yeah.
speed, his power, big body that moves so well on that edge. I think I'll just sway him over Tane at the moment because Tane obviously playing a little bit out of position. So I'm going a natural winger here.
Yeah, and everyone in the chat's acknowledging Dom Young in terms of his attacking game for sure. So let's move now to the left center, and I believe this is Mark Nawanganitawase versus
There we go.
Pompey, Adam Pompey.
Yes.
Now Mark had a good try. He seems to be naturally doing well. But
Very
in essence of
talented.
NRL games, Pompey has the experience. Where do you sit on this one? Very talented player is Mark. Yeah,
It's tough because the first two games of Mark Nawanganitawase, he showed a really high ceiling. He showed that he has a ton of potential behind him. Where Pompey has been very consistent for a long period of time, but the ceiling of Pompey is definitely not of Marky Mark. So I'll just give it to the Roosters guys here of Nawanganitawase, just because of the ability that he has, his tackle break ability. He's looking like someone that's going to be a superstar in the future. I do agree with a lot of the other commentators and stuff to say that the winger does look like he's probably best position overall. But him playing at centre there, some of the things like he's be able to do there, it would be nice for us to have him. That's the way I'm kind of envisioning this. If we were able to buy Nawanganitawase, I think that he would be an incredible purchase for us.
Yeah, he does. He looks very natural in his game style as well. Fair enough and good call there. Let's go now to the right centre. Good battle here. We've got Ali Leatoa. This is Robert Toya, and Robert's had been pretty good start to the season, as has Ali. Can you just actually first talk about the difference, or what are their styles between the stylistic difference between the twos? I know Ali's more of a power center, I view, in my opinion.
Agreed.
What's Robert's kind of game?
You kind of nailed that. Overall, as we know from Ale, just a really big body that moves very, very well. Got great footwork and play on both sides, this and that. Robert Toya is very fleet-footed, beautiful footwork. He has got tackle break ability as well. I would say the power battle goes Ali's way for sure, though. I think that for me, seeing this battle, I'm swaying the way of Ali Leatoa. I think Ali's ceiling for me is like New Zealand international. I think Robert Toya has the ability. I think Robert could have the ability to playing Origin at some time in the future. Yep. Shout out Norfolk's boy, so he'd be a Queensland boy.
Nice.
But a ton of talent. So, but at the moment, I'm going to sway the way of Ali Leatoa. I think Ali's ceiling for me is higher, but Robert's just about there with him.
Yeah. Let's do that. I think that's a fair analysis and great future stars of the game potentially. 100%. Hopefully we get to see more battles in the future. Okay, let's go now to the halves. You could probably say from an infancy level with Chanel and Luke, but Chatty Townsend on the other end of the spectrum with Sandon Smith. Let's start with our 5'8".
Yep.
Chanel versus Sandon. I saw Sandon had a pretty good game.
Did
on last week. Chanel playing reasonably well within his skill set as well. How do you have this one going between the two of them?
I would sway the way of Chanel Harris-Tavita over what I've seen over a long period of time. I think Chanel has definitely got a great ability there as a 6. I think Sandon will probably grow into a player that can fill in so often with first grade, then jump up and down. But overall, I think Chanel's probably like for the time period that he's been in the NRL, I've just enjoyed a lot more of his game. I think Sandon's only just really cracked the NRL, and he's had some good moments. But he's obviously very young as well in first grade. So I'm going to sway towards Shania Harris-Tavita. But Sandon definitely got a ton of ability, as we saw over the weekend against the Penrose Panthers. He had some really, really great moments. So I'm not shying away from saying that he's definitely a good player as well.
Yep, that's a fair analysis. And let's go now with Metcalf versus Townsend. I think Chad's obviously on the back end here, and I'd say riding the wave of Metcalf, he's actually on the up.
Yeah,
it feels like a definite Metcalf for me. Would you be the same as well?
Yeah, I'd sway away Metcalf. Now it's just really the argument of experience versus a guy that's just learning that position. But I think the potential of Metcalf for me at the moment is definitely, obviously, Chatty Townsend, as you said, downward trajectory in his career. Metcalf has got the highest ceiling right now. So go Lukey Mets.
Yep. Okay, guys, that makes up the. Sorry, let me move that up for everyone. That makes up the backline. Look, we went out 4-3, but there is some explosive pace there to be aware of. I've got a feeling that Nawanga Nituasi will have a try. I'm feeling like he'll cross over the line for any time try scored. I've just got this weird feeling he's going to score. But yeah, that's good so far. Let's move now into the middles. So we'll go with our props, which is a good little battle here. JFH versus Spencer Lenu. Let's combine them as well. Let's go with the 4 because there's not so much left or right, but the best 2, Fisher Harris, Barnett, and Alfahu White. Shivers. It's a close battle. I think you dropped Spencer out, obviously. Now Fahu's a beast too, and would probably deserve a shout at least. But kind of leaning towards Mitch and Fish in this situation. What would you say, Ash?
I think the easiest way to separate this, I'd say Fish is the dominant out of all of them. So Fish is in there for sure.
Yeah.
And then it's really the argument of Mitch Barnett versus obviously Spencer and Nafahu White. I think a lot of Blues fans would call Spencer over Mitch due to what he did in Origin, but I thought Mitch had a really good Origin series as well, made Australia. I think Mitch is a lot more consistent prop. He can do a lot more. We can put him on an edge if we need to. He's just an amazing footballer. So I'm swaying the way of Mitch Barnett over the lot. But both those props definitely have ability. Like Spencer, we know the tackle break ability that he has. And with Nafahu White, after the Kiwi form that he's had some up and down moments early to start the season, but he's definitely a prop for the future.
Yeah, I'll add in Barney after we do our lock just so it looks nice and clean. But we'll go now to the lock position. Aaron Clark versus Victor Radley. Shivers, I haven't really been watching much of Victor lately, but I know he's a top quality lock. On paper, probably above Aaron. But where do you see this battle out? Because I find it a bit tough. I don't want to be unfair on Aaron too. But
I know.
Yeah.
It's tough, man, because Victor has been playing on the edge for a lot of time lately. So I do think that this lineup will change come game day. I think we'll end up seeing Lindsay Collins go to the front row. Nafahu probably drop down to that 13 role, theoretically, right, on paper. And Radley will go, trying to think, maybe Wong will go to that 13 role and Radley go to the edge, so they can try and push in Lindsay Collins. But if we're going Victor Radley and Aaron Clark has showed a lot of good ability in that 13 role, but I got to go the way of Victor Radley for obviously the long term. He's experienced in that 13 jersey, beautiful ball playing. He's great defensively. Not to say Aaron's not. I think Aaron's just good and amazing in those areas as well. But obviously the experience of Victor Radley and hitting the top of the level in that 13 jersey, where Aaron's obviously still early in his career in that sense.
Yep. No, that's a fair call. And I think for us, at least, he's a good player too, older Aaron, and I wouldn't want to discredit him. But yeah, in that situation, for sure, you got to go with Victor there. Let's go to hooker now. It is
It's a tight one.
Yeah, Connor Watson's playing pretty well, and Egan, he's had a great game last week. Again, just quickly on Egan, for me, just needs to be consistent. People are still asking me, should we hold a Sam Healy on the bench for Egan? I mean, there's still that fear amongst fans that he is due for a concussion.
Yeah.
So, but who would you pick in this battle? It is a tight one. It is a very tight one.
Very, very tight. I'm swaying the way of Wade Egan as a natural hooker, like as a hooker. If I'm going number 9, I'm going Wade Egan. Obviously Connor Watson can come off the bench in that 14 jersey, play anywhere on the park. He's such an amazing athlete. But what Wade Egan does, deceptiveness in the ruck, the way he obviously shoots markers one way and he plays off the back of that, and if he stays on the football field, I think he's one of the best hookers in the competition. I think the only thing that we have against Wade Egan is that he ends up picking up an injury or a head knock. So if he stays healthy, I think that's not a crazy thing to say that Wade Egan's one of the best hookers in the competition.
Sorry guys, let me just get this up. Oh wait, then you go to the hooker. There we go. Egan, there he is. No problem. Okay, let's go to the edges now. Kurt Capewell versus Angus Crichton. Gotta go Capewell. No. Sorry, Kurt. I think you gotta obviously go Crichton there. But love to have Kurt have a good game though.
Yeah, definitely agree with you here, bro. We're talking about the upper echelon of edge back rower, what Angus Crichton can do on his day. Kurt Capewell, really great player, like high energy, like a worker. But Angus is like a worker, but with like that athleticism, that attacking punch. So we're going Angus Crichton.
Got to go Crichton, man. Fair enough there. Okay, guys, now let's go to the right side, which is Siwa Wong versus Marata Newcourt. I haven't watched much of Siwa. I know Siwa's a really high talent. I mean, Marata's been up and down, to be fair. He did have a good game, but also that consistency is an issue.
Yeah.
Who would you go in that battle?
This one's a really tight one for me, bro, especially if Marata Newcourt's form. I thought he had a great game last weekend, especially when we're turning him back underneath. I think that's probably preferable for him when he starts hitting those short balls, unless he seems to have errors in him at the moment and playing close to the line, whether that's more so on Luke or him, I'm not too sure. But Wong has had really high moments as well and really low moments in first grade. And I think that, unfortunately Robbo's played with his career a little bit from the middle and the edge, is kind of like messing his development. So at the moment I've swayed away with Marata Newcourt, but it is honestly, it's very, very small, as in the fact of I think Wong's potential for me right now is higher. I think Wong has very high potential, great body, moves really well. Marata is just holding on there more so on experience and, what he's done over time comparatively to what Wong's been in and out of first grade for a long period of time now.
Yeah. Fair call. And guys, this is the team. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 5 Roosters. Now remember, guys, that they're actually quality players that have probably just missed out in the Fahu White, Siwa Wong. So it is quite an even battle in the middle. And you got Lindsay Collins on the bench technically. So it's actually, if you actually add it up, it's going to be a big physical battle. And so it's going to be a good one. Let's get now to the bench, which is from the 4 we've got at the moment: Dylan Walker, Jackson Ford, Dimitri Vaimaunga, Leka Lasima versus Docker Clay, Celesi Foketi, Blake Steep, and Lindsay Collins. So, where are we going with that, Ash, in your opinion?
Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We're going Dylan Walker and Lindsay Collins for sure.
Yeah,
I think both those guys add a lot there, is the mainstays and guys that have the ability to be starters in rugby league, and even just their impact. Like Dylan Walker's impact from the bench is unmatched. So I think that we'll be seeing him most of this year. Now combined 13s for that 14 jersey, he's incredible there. And as enough said with Lindsay Collins, what he does on the big stages, he is just a absolute worker. The other player I would chuck up in there, Celesi Fugetti is a young player just getting into first grade, got a ton of ability, a ton of talent, same as Blake Steep. So they're kind of fighting it off with Vaimwanga and Halasima. Jackson Ford will probably find a spot for me. At the moment, I'd still probably have them Jackson Ford above some of these younger boys just yet. But there will come a time where those boys jump. So we're going Jackson. And lastly, it's really out of those 4 young boys. Because Zach Docker-Clay, he can do a job, but, we already have a Dylan Walker type on the bench, and I don't really want to carry Zach Docker-Clay as well. So out of those boys that we have there, I think the highest ceiling player, Faketi, Steep, Vaimwanga, and Halasima, I'm going Leka Halasima.
Yep.
I think he's got the highest ceiling out of those 4 names there for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And from what you've seen, I know you would have watched a bit more than me for sure. That you would pick Leka based on that and based on that ceiling. So, look, guys, that rounds up the fantasy there. Let me just quickly get that there. So you do have, 4, 5. Really probably 6 or 7 Roosters if you really base it on quality and form in that starting 13. But our boys win it out 8-5 there, and we win the bench out with Lindsay Collins, who probably will come into the starting rotation, or they'll mix it up. So it's more of a I'd say probably a 10-7 in our favor. 9, could push a 9-8, but 10-7, pretty solid. Which would again put pressure on us, I say, to be dominant, at least to match it with the physicality that the Roosters have, but also, stand up to what we produced last week.
What I would say, bro, is like when we look at these lineups, you hit a nail on the head. I think a lot of these combined 13, there's whiskers in a lot of them. Like you could have easily gone Daniel Tupou over Roger Tuivasa-Sheck just for the longevity and how good he is as a winger. We had Mark Nawanga-Tuase. We could have had Bumpy there for that position, but Robert Toya, in some other people's eyes, Robert Toya might be the next best thing. So like all these guys are very, very close. And I think, the Roosters versus us is actually on paper a closer battle. Like it was one of the closest battles, 50-50 battles that we're going to see this year. So I think they're on very similar sort of footing to where we are at the moment. So it really comes down to our halves, our spine clicking, our forward pack getting very dominant in the middle and allowing just, obviously seeing the experienced members of a Chad Townsend and James Tedesco not to out-enthuse us and experience us in key moments. So I think that's a big thing I'm worried about with the Roosters.
Yeah, let's get into that now, guys. Appreciate you hanging around with us. 80 in here. Please hit that like and subscribe if you're new. We appreciate everyone coming along. Score prediction. Look, it's I think we've had a good chat around the Roosters. I think this will be a much more physical battle. We're trying to prove that we can be consistent and bring that same energy, and that we can develop our halves, that we can do better. Look, Roosters on a high. They could drop, but I'm sure that Robbo will be pushing them to come in strong, and also that they will want to get their season going, but also build off of what the success they've had against us at home. So, and they've got fresh players coming in, that are fresh off injury. So it's not like it's a tired team. It bodes for a close game, in my opinion. I'm not sure what the weather is either, but usually these battles with the Roosters are quite physical at home. And but what do you make of it, and what's your score prediction on how this game will go?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really tough battle. I think the Roosters will be up for it after the weekend they had against the Penrose Panthers. And I think that on similar ends, I think the boys, would have had a lot of confidence from that big win against Manly. Winning against top sides builds confidence for sides like us and the Roosters, that are mid-pack this year and looking to build our systems. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than what maybe some people would think if the Roosters fans or our fans, right? I think it's going to be a 1-12 contest on our side. I'm going to sway the way back on our side. Obviously, last week I tipped Manly, thinking Manly were going to be a little bit harder. This week I'm going to sway the way of us because I do think that we have the ability to get over the top of the Roosters side that we have here on paper. but it's going to be a tough task. Any team with James Tedesco, obviously Dominic Young on the wings, got a ton of speed and ability. And in that forward pack with Victor Radley, Spencer Leniu, Nafahu White, it's going to be very, very tough. Angus Crichton as well on the back of, those boys. So hopefully we can put him down the opposite end of the field, cause Chad Townsend to have that poor kicking game that he had in round 1 against the Broncos, similar to what the Broncos did to him, where they really bashed him into submission. And we get a lot more opportunities on the end. Obviously, what we do well is we get down to the opposition 20 and we just continue to pepper that line and we really break down teams in that sense. So that's what I want to see from our boys. So I'm going Warriors 1-12.
It doesn't matter if it's Chad's, Rad's, or your own dad. Wars by 4. Very nice team, Mackie. Love that one. 1-12. It just does feel like a close battle. I don't think. I think the Roosters will try to keep it tight as well. This will be good to see, our patience again, and and testing them, and testing our defensive systems and all those things. But I think if the kicking came, like we saw that the pressure it puts on teams when we play that field position and possession game, it does break teams down. But yeah, we're gonna have to play a big game physically. I'm in the same vein. I'll probably go us 1-12. It might be a lower scoring, but it could be a high scoring as well. I'm not too sure. But I'm in that same vein as well. I'll probably go 1-12 in favor of us, and I think we will build off of it. I think if anything, Fish is trying to build that consistency, and same with Barnett. You can hear it in the language. So if the boys don't deliver in terms of bringing that same energy, they may lose. I'm not saying they may win, but if they lack that consistency again, that would concern me. So I'm hoping just for even a good performance. If it's a tight loss or something like that, that's understandable. But yeah, there's definitely looking for some of those signs. Sure.
100%. And like, as you touched on before, we got Fish there trying to lay a standard. We got Barnett trying to lay a standard. We got players like Roger, CNK, that have touched very high levels in rugby league. Obviously Roger winning a premiership and CNK almost winning a premiership with the Raiders in that game against the Roosters. Kurt Catewell's, touched the promised land. So we got guys that have touched top standards and can lay a good platform for consistency. So that's what we're trying to build at the moment. I can predict it to be a good performance when still losing. That's the thing. And hopefully the boys can turn up and get a good win at home.
Absolutely, guys. There you have it. That's our thoughts on the game, and appreciate everyone the input. We are going to just quickly touch on the New South Wales Cup and the Jersey Flag. I saw the highlights of the Cup. They looked like they had a great game. And I've seen the team list for them as well, and it looks as though they are pretty much rolling out the same team. Berry obviously listed there. Great for the Halves. What do you make of the Cup team so far? And do you think it's, can they be called? I know a lot of people are saying we talked about rotating the front row and whether we need to start looking at rotation. But do you expect that a lot of these guys with NRL experience can jump in on a whim and still perform for us if we do have an injury crisis? Something like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think the first 2 performances in Cup have been very solid. That we haven't blown teams out of the water, but we haven't been a pushover either, which is really good signs overall for our Cup side. Obviously the good win over the weekend over Man Seagulls 31-20. I think that a lot of players showed great ability. Sam Healy, he is such a raw talent. Unfortunately, he's gone down with a shoulder injury from what I've heard. So we've had to match and change a couple of people around. But when he gets back, his development's still there. Very raw still, I still believe, but you can just tell he's going to be a special player for the future. I think the big positives out of it, obviously Jacob Laban, Tom Ale, Bunty Afar, all these names look absolutely incredible in there. But our halves, they're building a good connection there. Tanner Boyd's talking a lot more, and I'm actually getting more excited for Tanner Boyd being around the club and seeing that maybe if he does find a potential, who knows whether he can push for a 7 jersey or something like that if things don't work out, right? I think that, those boys are building a great connection, and the more that we stick with the same team list down in New South Wales Cup, the more consistent and better performances we'll have down there. So I'll be more confident to have any of these boys jump up in our first grade squad, and I think they'll do a job, especially Rocco Berry. I want to see another good week out of Rocco, and I'm very excited to see what he can produce again this week after a great performance last week.
Very cool. We'll jump now over to Jersey Flag. I know I think they might have had a loss. I watched maybe the highlights. Yeah. Some good signs and obviously some poor moments as well. What do you make of them? They've obviously had a slow start. Can they pick it up again this week? What's your thoughts on the SG Ball? Jersey Flag boys.
Yeah, they seem to be a side that struggle with momentum swings. And it is tough, junior grades, under 21s here with Jersey Flag. We saw this in Toyota Cup in moments as well. Errors start to get into their game, and they put themselves on the back foot. There was a strong period here where Manly, rushed out to a 20 point to 6 scoreline. I'm pretty sure 20 points to 4 scoreline, sorry. Where it did look like we were like, man, we need to start picking something up, or we're going to blow out again like we did against the Raiders. But a good sign is that we found moments and we came back into the contest due to very strong running of the football. Luke Hanson looks like he's a step above this grade at the moment, which is great to see. I thought that he was the most impressive of our boys out there in the football field. Montu Pasikala is going to have a week off by the looks of it, coming into this week with the Jersey Flag against the Roosters. Didn't have his greatest performance over the weekend, but the guy that replaced him, Cali Lupo, he had a really good performance, I thought, against the Seagulls, so very good to see. Even our new halfback that we had there, James Marriott, had a great performance in Jet Cleary's absence, but Jet Cleary is back this week as well. So keep an eye out, guys. There is some good performances down here with the Jersey Flag sides, but a little bit more individual. A guy that I continue to watch that has a ton of potential. Again, I can say it every week. Kalis Paul Putoko. I thought that, he had some really nice touches as well in the contest. So hopefully the boys get a good win against the Roosters this weekend. It's probably easier said than done because that's a tough Roosters squad with a lot of good players. Shout out Rugby League Guru's little brother, I think it is, Josh Durkin in the 6 jersey. So it's going to be a tough ask this weekend, but maybe Rugby League Guru will make the trip down and watch our Warriors boys play some football.
Yeah, that'd be good. Good to see Guru and yeah, that'd be really interesting, actually. Okay, guys, that wraps up. Obviously, catch the Harold Mets as well this week as well. They are back in the SG Ball, so we'll give some recaps next week on those boys as well when they come back off the bye. So, but mate, that wraps up our show. Massive show. Thank you everyone that's come in and the comments that's hung around. We appreciate everyone, all of our members as well in the chat. Just quickly, our new members actually from last night, Kurt Fleming and Chris. Thank you for joining us. And Strictly, who wanted more, he started off with reserve grade. I think he's bumped up to first. So Strictly is pumped. Thanks again for Killer. We really do appreciate that. And here as well, 7 months of membership, and Josh 4 months of membership. So beautiful. Everyone that's picked us forward. We acknowledge all of our members and everyone in the chat for being massive supporters, and we know how important it is to us. Good to see you as well, Shen, as well, man. And appreciate everyone. Any last words, Ash? I mean, we've got the watch along on Friday.
Yes.
But any last words from you? I know. Actually, and just please quickly tell us your streams as well. That you got coming up with you and Brody, and where to find them and what times. That'd be great. Yeah,
guys, as usual, me and Brody got the Wednesday show and the Thursday show back on my channel, so on Ash Thomas on YouTube. That's been going gangbusters. A lot of good analytics now. I'm stepping up in that area. So thank you so much, guys, for all your support on both those shows. And lastly, as we've been saying, guys, as we'll continue to say, this year is a building year, guys. So don't go too high, don't go too low. Just understand we are going through the processes, but hopefully the boys step it up this week and build from that performance of last week. And we can come back next week with a little bit more of a view set of where the boys sit in the competition right now. Week 1, it's tough to really tell. Week 2, even tougher to really tell. Week 3, 4, 5, we're going to see where the boys are really sitting.
Last thing I did want to say, and I mentioned this on Friday or maybe been yesterday, I think we need to make Mount Smart a fortress. If we need to grow that extra leg, if it's tough to make the 8, and even sometimes getting to 12 wins can be tough for a team in our situation. But the more wins we get at home and we build that place up and get behind the boys, the better it is too. Like, so anyone that go into the game, get behind the boys, support them, cheer them on. Yeah, never. I've always valued home wins. Never throw them away. Like, never discredit. Like, when you're at home, take that advantage. So
exactly.
Yeah,
Turn it into like as I touch on all the time, like Manly at Four Pines is a completely different monster. Doggies at Belmore is a complete different monster. Even like Melbourne is one of the toughest asks in anyone for the competition. So we want to be that side that bring people over to New Zealand and not want to come back. So that's what I want the Warriors to become again, and hopefully we can do that this year. And if we do that consistently, we have a good potential to be a top 8 side this year. Bottom side of top 8, but be around about that top 8 position.
Yeah, and just quickly, MD8. Man, love that profile picture there. That's awesome, bro. Yeah, we have covered it earlier in the stream. If you got time, jump back in there. We did talk about Metcalf, and we're both very positive and hoping that he continues his development in that 7 jersey. But thank you everyone for your time. Come back on Friday here at Wise Up TV for the watch along. But also check out Ash's shows tomorrow and on Thursday. Everyone, get your super coaches, all the members, get your super coaches shades done. I picked up my game a bit. I did a little bit better this week. Actually, I scored quite high. I'm proud of myself. I might be back down to 700 or 800 next week. Who knows? I better make my trade. So I better do some study. Do your study and do your homework. But yeah, keep your super coach going and everything else. But yeah, anything else, Ash, before we wrap up? Sorry, I already asked.
Nah, guys, let's go. Yeah, no, all right. Up the Waz, baby. Hopefully get a good win this weekend. And KFC, baby, fried chicken.
Fried chicken on Sunday, on Friday, guys. Catch you later. Stay safe. Up the Waz as always, people. And peace.